Hey, it's Drybear. The War Within is just a few days away, and what I wanted to do is help make leveling guides and just give some general advice on playing your character, because everyone's going to want to be playing maybe a new class in the expansion and want to know what are the talent changes and how can I maximize my hero talent tree to level the fastest. And today we're going to start with the Monk, one of my all-time favorite classes in World of Warcraft. I've put together a full list of leveling builds for each of the specializations, things that I would recommend that would go into leveling, and we'll walk through some of these and the important parts here, as well as the hero talents down below. I think the biggest thing when it comes to leveling in World of Warcraft, though in recent years it has gotten a lot faster, you could probably expect anywhere from 10 to 15 hours to get from level 70 to level 80, and it's important to know that you will unlock your hero talents starting with 71. So the way that will work in game is you'll have inside of your talent tree, you will have the class tree on the left, the specialization tree on the right, and in the middle, your specialization will have access to two different hero talent trees. Based on which one you choose, the specialization you have, it will be two of the three that are available, so it'll be different options for each. But there are some really interesting options for leveling specifically. They give you a bunch of AoE clearing, a bunch of movement speed, which is super nice, and that's kind of king when it comes to leveling. Movement speed, getting around the map, getting from quest to quest, and maximizing your runtime so that you can actually get to the different areas, finish the zone campaigns, and finish your leveling progress quickly, get to end game, and start farming your actual gear. So what I've done is I've split up the class tree, which is going to be the same for all of them in this case. Some of the classes, the class tree will change slightly based on what's available, but luckily for Monk, it will be the same. The only difference here is that in some cases, you might get some different abilities showing up on the lower part of the class tree, but it's going to be in the same place for all three specializations. Also on top of that, I think the best option for leveling is going to be Conduit of the Celestials for hero talents. It has some really cool options in here that make things really straightforward and easy. You get bonus damage on your AoE options. You also get some increased movement speed while the buff is active. And personally for me, when you're leveling, the AoE part of the leveling, when you're pulling a bunch of mobs and clearing them out quickly, is the easiest part. The hard part is really just when you get to the boss fights and you need that nice 1 to 2 minute cooldown ability that you can use to burn through the boss, get that part done, and get back to questing or get back to AoE clearing. And I think Conduit of Celestials works great for this. Celestial Conduit will give you a nice big burst to allow you to burn through those single targets, and you also have some increased movement speed while you have that active. Now you can run Conduit of Celestials only on Mistweaver and Windwalker, and I would run the same build with both of them, though keep in mind it's going to be slightly different because you're going to focus either more on your AoE clearing and your teachings of the monastery, or you're going to focus more on Fists of Fury, because what's great about the Windwalker version of Conduit of Celestials is you'll actually be able to have crazy cooldown resets. So this ability that allows you to, when you consume 45 chi, your next strike of the Windlord will allow you to call upon Yu'lon and decrease the cooldown time of Rising Sun Kick, Fists of Fury, Strike of the Windlord, and Whirling Dragon Punch by 75% for 8 seconds. This allows you to do a bunch of AoE damage or single target, depending on what you want to do, and you can modify it so that you can also heal yourself, keep yourself alive, and become tankier. And of course, we know that when the Celestial Conduit is active, we get a whole bunch of movement speed, which is really, really nice. I've also put down below for all of these builds the path order that you'll want to choose. So the way this works is from 70 to 71, you won't have access to it, but at 71, you'll unlock the hero talent tree. You'll get the first point free at the start of the tree, and then you'll be able to work your way down. You will actually be able to fill out the entirety of your hero talent tree. There's just going to be some choice nodes depending on your class and specialization that will vary, but overall, between 71 and 80, you will get just enough points to fill out the entire tree completely. But while you're leveling, it is important to prioritize the correct path on that tree so that you get the most benefit early. And so what I've done for all of these is I've put them in order with numbers, so like 1, 2, and 3, to show you which order you should go down in the trees, which ones are the most important, and which one will give you the most value at levels 71 to 74 right off the bat. And then as you get closer to 80, you'll obviously get all of them unlocked. Now let's talk about the class tree real quick. Some really important aspects in here that can give you a lot of time saved when you're leveling and progressing through the game. And there's also some cool new things that are being added added that are really, really fun. The first one to talk about is this one here, Lighter Than Air. This one is super fun for leveling. So the way this works is that when you get down to the bottom of the class tree and you unlock this, you unlock Lighter Than Air. And this, on a cooldown, will allow you to, after roll, if you double jump, just like demon hunters do, you will dash forward and you'll be able to get some extra movement out of that. So if we have Chi Torpedo or if we have Celerity, it doesn't really matter which one you choose, either the 3 rolls or the extra movement speed. Technically for leveling, I like Chi Torpedo because you can Chi Torpedo off of cliffs to get us some extra distance on that. But what you do is you roll, and then if you double jump, you'll surge forward. And that you can just keep doing, which is really, really cool. You'll get some extra movement out of it, allows you to get some extra distance, and you can do it again in the air, which allows you to cover a lot of ground when you're going. So say you go up onto a mountain. Some of the zones out here actually have a lot of elevation as well. So as you push through these, you might get up to a mountain during a quest. You can glide down if you don't have any goblin gliders available, and you can use this as a way to move across the area and even create some distance for you as you move across some small gaps. The next big one is Ring of Peace. This is one of the most undervalued abilities in the entire game, and all 3 of the specializations for Monk get it. It is so incredibly useful for so many different things. So the way this works, if you've never played Monk before, I'm assuming if you're looking for a Monk leveling guide, you may want to look at information for that. You place it down, and any enemies that cross the threshold of this will be bumped out towards the outside of the circle. But you can use it to place it down and walk backwards, have enemies scatter around you. You can use it to gather enemies. You can even use it to interrupt spell casting. If you place the Ring of Peace down on top of the spellcaster, it'll bump them and stop that spell casting, and you can use it just for grouping up enemies for extra damage to start doing a bunch of AoE when you get the opportunity. You also want to slack on using Fortifying Brew, or if you decide to run for it, doing the Dampen Harm or the Reduce Magic as well. Those can save you a lot. You can also lower the cooldown on them to quite a short period of time, and this will give you a lot of opportunity to take a big pull, a lot of enemies together, pop your defensive cooldowns, go for your AoE and burn them down, and that will get you a lot more clearing through most of that. The next thing to talk about is the choice between Chi Wave and Chi Burst. The big thing about Chi Wave versus Chi Burst is technically a little bit better for damage and clearing. In my experience, after playing every expansion for World of Warcraft over the last 20 years, is that when leveling with Chi Burst, because it is a projectile that flies forward, you will often end up pulling mobs you don't intend to because it flies way forward and gets in front of you and then pulls targets that you didn't want part of your group. So I often end up leaning more on Chi Wave just because it's a little bit simpler. It gives you some nice healing and support, and it won't usually run rogue and grab some other mobs in another area. Take constant use of Tiger's Lust as well. This is a very easy, it breaks snares, it gives you movement speed, allows you to get around very quickly, and you can use it with rolls for extra movement speed as well, plus your little dash there. You can really get moving on Monk, even on non-Windwalker, which has Flying Serpent Kick, but even on the other 2 specs, you can get some serious distance around. And the last thing to think about is going to be using Transcendence as well. This is where you can place down a spirit and then you can teleport back to it with the follow-up ability. And you can do this while you're dropping down below. So maybe you have a quest down below, you put this, you do your quest down here, and then you teleport back up to your spirit. It gives you a lot of really clear ways to teleport around and keep yourself moving. And of course, if you are running Windwalker, take very strong advantage of the Flying Serpent Kick. One of the best things for leveling. If you use Flying Serpent Kick, plus your dash and Lighter Than Air, plus your Tiger's Lust, you can get some ridiculous movement speed around, put your spirit down. You've got so much movement and freedom with leveling that it's going to be a breeze for Monk. Other than that, for Windwalker specifically, I think it's very straightforward. Take full advantage of Whirling Dragon Punch, especially when you're doing combinations that scale off of it as well. Use Zwen as much as you can to clear things out and stack things up, and pretty much just keep Storm, Earth, and Fire on cooldown so you don't end up using up that cooldown. Of course, you can also switch over and use the Celestial Conduit as well, which is going to give you a lot of really easy ways to clear targets, and I think the effects look really great on that as well. And of course, you have your Touch of Death, which you can scale up even more, especially with Fatal Touch, which is a really nice way to add value to Touch of Death, but I think that Windwalker is probably the simplest. For Mistweaver, your damage is going to be a lot more limited, and I think you want to lean a lot on your Jadefire Stomp. They made some changes to this ability since it was the Fey ability back in Shadowlands, and the new new version of this is actually incredibly strong, and it will give you a lot of really nice options for Mistweaver as you progress through the leveling if you're deciding to level. The easiest way to level is really just to gather targets up and use your spinning crane kick and do tons and tons of damage, and also just kind of use your Ring of Peace to gather up mobs, then keep yourself alive with all of your healing abilities and protective abilities. But you really want to lean on gathering up a bunch of mobs for one go, get Jadefar Stomp activated, and use up your hero talent abilities to combo with that in big groups, go on cooldown, and then kind of use in between to do groups. And also lean a lot on your Invoker's Delight. While your Celestial's out, you get haste. Again, you're doing big cooldown pulls when you're playing Mistweaver, and other than that, you're just spinning to winning, clearing everything out. And the AoE damage is respectable when you combine both of these together to get some really nice cleave. Now, when it comes to Brewmaster, you won't have the option of going with the conduit, so you have Master of Harmony or Shadowpan. And I think Shadowpan is going to be a lot better once you hit level 80 and start doing difficult content. There's some really nice scaling aspects in here for stat-wise and strength-wise. But I think for leveling, Master of Harmony is going to take the cake for a few reasons. First of all, Overwhelming Force on the left side of the tree will give you an AoE cone for Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick, and Tiger Palm, which is great for taking out targets. I think one of the big things about leveling with a tank is you can pull as much as you want, essentially, especially if you know how to play the tank in general. Pull a big pack and do some AoE to burn it down. And I think monks also have some of the best AoE for tanks in general. Keg Smash going into Exploding Keg. You can do so much damage in AoE, get everything lit up, then drop Breath of Fire, and then you can also do your normal attacks, which will do AoE damage. You can pop up your Rushing Jade Wind, and then just start spinning to winning on everything and clear everything out. If it happens to be a big pull, you can use things like Weapons of Order as well, and put all those combos together, but I think this AoE cleave is going to be clutch for you. There's also a nice talent here for Tiger's Vigor, which gives you a cooldown on roll every single time you use Tiger's Lust. So as you're rolling around and zooming around, you'll be able to lower the cooldown on your roll, which means you're not going to be flying around with Flying Serpent Kick, but you will get a lot of really nice value out of that. And of course, we still have Lighter Than Air because it's part of the class tree for Brewmaster, which makes things really nice and easy. And if you want to keep getting crazier with the pulls, I like Mantra of Tenacity here because it means that when you pop Fortifying Brew, you will actually give yourself a big Chi Cocoon as well, which is super nice. It gives you a bunch of extra absorb, some defense as well, and you can get some extra charges on Celestial Brew, which means you can build up the stagger, cleanse the stagger, get a big bubble, get some release on damage as well, and you get some extra damage dot coming out from Aspect of Harmony. All of it works really well together, and you'll just be playing Brewmaster like you would in other expansions if you've played it before. So that covers my monk leveling guide. Down at the bottom here, I put a reminder to all of the general leveling tips, and I have another video going over just generally how to level quickly in World of Warcraft and things that you should be aware of, and also some really awesome opportunities from Dragonflight that you can pick up really cheap on the auction house that will make your overall leveling experience better. But this sheet is going to be down below in the description and in the comments as well if you wanted to use it for reference if you happen to be another monk player that's jumping into the War Within. And of course, if you want to see more World of Warcraft content from me, let me know down below. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.